Spring and John Smoltz, Major League Baseball Network, and former pitcher, Hall of Famer. What did you like better, Johnny? Pitching East Coast or West Coast?
Probably once you got used to the West Coast. You know, I can remember this time last year being in Australia. I didn't like that because 2 a.m. I had to get up to watch March Madness. So somewhere, a little bit east of Australia. But I could get used to watching football a lot earlier in the morning on Sundays and not having to stay up so late. I could get used to that. I think the West Coast has a little bit of advantage unless you're a working man. Then it's a little tough.
Yeah, if you have a job, then it'd hamper you a little bit.
Yeah, that would probably be tough. Yeah.
How's your bracket?
It's waiting in the wings. It's waiting to explode.
Ooh.
It's like I like being in the weeds and then just jumping up at the last minute saying I told you so.
Yeah, but you told us so about Sparty and Tom Izzo years ago.
Yeah.
We're all in on it. We're all in on the secret now.
I think they're going to start on the statue. I don't know. Pretty soon the statue should be going up right outside of Breslin because this is a magical year for people in East Lansing. Didn't expect much, and this team certainly winning 2 games is pretty huge. And they got still a chance to win a few more games. And
what's amazing is you spent so much time at Michigan State. How many days did you spend at Michigan State?
Oh, I've spent a lot there.
As a student.
Oh, as a student?
Yeah. How many days were you enrolled at Michigan State?
I was enrolled for about a week, and then they decided I didn't even need those 4 years, that I could just kind of bypass it. And so then I'm living vicariously through my son, who's a senior getting ready to graduate in May. So, I've got my son's there, so, consider myself still a Spartan.
I like that. Go Sparty. John Smoltz, Major League Baseball Network analyst, joining us. We spent some time yesterday talking about the Cubs and Chris Bryant, the Babe Ruth of spring training this year, and the fact that Scott Boras, as his agent, is saying that if he's not on the opening day roster, then this is the Cubs doing something financially to hold him back and not helping the Cubs win, pushing back his free agency year. What side do you weigh in on?
What's interesting is this doesn't happen to every ball player, and certainly some ball players that are able, the organization that can sign them through their arbitrations probably are more likely to do certain things. But to be honest and fair, you have a financial responsibility. I think sometimes people think sports and owners and teams just have this bountiful amount of money and they can just, not be conducive to spending the money wisely. So 2 weeks, let's just say that the argument is he doesn't break the camp, and for 2 weeks they gain an extra year. What's the big deal? The guy's doing everything he can to make it difficult. That's what every player wants to do. But there's a process in place, and some organizations feel like some players are signable and some may not be, and the fact that they can control them for 6 years is more important. So I don't know why this craze and uproar of he's going to be there. He's going to be there at some point this year. It's either going to be breaking camp after 2 weeks or after the months, whatever, that allows him to not be a Super 2. And the Cubs are in a nice position to have this problem. I don't think the outcry is going to be, I hear everyone say, well, if they lose by 1 game, that 2 weeks that he wasn't up could have been the difference. Well, yeah, if, woulda, coulda, shoulda. But I understand both arguments. And if I'm a player and if I was giving advice to a player, make it as difficult as you possibly can for a team. But don't create this, anger. I made the mistake when I was young trying to think that my contract in the big leagues, I could do something about it. It's a process. It's been going on for a long time. And the Cubs are in a nice position with a lot of young prospects. But my gosh, 9 home runs is pretty darn impressive. And I'd love to see this guy continue to adjust and see what he does in the big leagues, which is going to be soon.
The glut of Tommy John surgeries as a former pitcher, John, it almost seems like it's a rite of passage that, hey, when are you getting your Tommy John surgery?
I'm telling you, Dan, it is such a problem. We're in the beginning stages of determining. Not only we've determined that the younger generation has had this overuse and abuse, and we're seeing the epidemic now really live out. But I'm intrigued to see now what happens with the time frame after all these people have Tommy John. In other words, how long can they pitch before they have their second and third? Before it used to be, okay, life-saving, career-saving, job, injury, later in your career, in their mid-30s, gives you a few more years. Tommy John pitched 11 years after his first successful, obviously he was the first successful surgery to have happen, but he was a soft tosser, right? So 11 years he pitched. I pitched 7 years after I was 34. Now guys are having it before they even get 200 major league innings. And if people don't start waking up to understand that the theories and philosophies that we have today in baseball are so flawed, we're going to be dealing with this at such a rate that I don't know we're going to be able to have these guys exceed the expectations or pitch to the degree that they had always hoped to. So you've got the Strasburgs, you've got the Fernandezes, you've got the Harveys, all young. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to acquire data to see how long they pitch effectively with one Tommy John before we even start talking about two. I hate it. I hate it for our game. I hate it for the parents who think this is normal and it's a Band-Aid. And honestly, when I go in, if allotted a little extra time outside that 10 minutes they give me, one of my big topics is to talk about this to people in attendance, to say this is not normal. Don't keep following these trends. I'm the first ever Tommy John recipient to go in the Hall of Fame. I can make a very good argument I'll be the last for all the reasons I just stated. You know, reaching 300 wins, reaching 3,000 strikeouts, 3,000 innings. These are all not achievable marks by people who have had Tommy John surgeries, in my opinion, because it's so early. So we're in a stage of data, and we're going to see how these guys do, and we've already seen 2 and 3 recipients of Tommy John surgeries.
But Johnny, why are we getting younger kids blowing out their arms and needing Tommy John surgery?
Because parents are fighting for scholarship dollars and draft choices. And these organizations that are out there promoting that they can do that for them are not for the best interest of the kid. If you are throwing hard at a young age, Dr. Andrews just came out with a study, I believe it's 80 miles an hour is the average fastball, and that is something at the high end for high school. But these kids have a live arm, and they're throwing, their tendons cannot handle a velocity that young. So if you have a child that has a great arm, you have to protect it. The more you use it, the not better he's going to be. And so this high-velocity, young age, we call it carnival baseball. All it is RPMs. Everyone's maxing out because they want to show the radar guns, and they want to show everybody they're unbelievable. We've got kids in high school throwing 97 miles an hour. That never used to happen. And that's what's happening. These young-age kids are playing on 2 and 3 teams, playing 100 games, showcasing their arm, and there is obviously a tipping point, and that usually comes right through high school to college to the minor leagues. And that's why we're underdeveloping these major leaguers. We want to fast-track everybody. We don't want to give them the seasoning they need, and we don't want to train them for the long haul. If you redline your car every day going to work, you're going to blow your motor out sooner or later. And that's what's happening, because you can't tell me that we've all of a sudden, in the smarter technology era, have gotten dumber with pitchers. There's just no way you can tell me that's happened. And guys who used to pitch 250, 260, and 270 innings with guys that are so much faster, stronger, and better, all of a sudden can't pitch 210 or blowing out. That, to me, is mind-boggling. We're not going backwards for information. We're trying to go forward, and I would say we're actually losing ground.
All right, we got to lighten the mood before I let you go. Give me a Greg Maddux story that I haven't heard.
Greg Maddux' story would not, just on that subject, would never get drafted today. And he's one of the best pitchers to ever pitch in our game. Smart, knew how to pitch, and he could pitch.
But he was a hard thrower when he first came up with the Cubs.
That's my point. But he had to learn how to pitch in the minor leagues. He had 19 complete games in the minor leagues. Go find 30 clubs that have 19 complete games in the minor leagues. He learned how to pitch. Velocity was not getting it done. He was getting his brains beat out because the harder he threw, the straighter it was. He learned that he could sink, change, cut, and do the things in the minor leagues that made him a successful pitcher. Glavine was the same way. Glavine threw harder, but it wasn't successful for him. Now guys have no choice. If you want to get drafted, you got to throw hard. You got to light up the radar gun. And we're not teaching these guys how to pitch, get in and out of trouble. It's amazing. And you know what? Maddux did it. If he laid at the beach, You wouldn't want to look at him. He didn't have the perfect body, but he did the things he had to do to be successful.
Okay.
And every once in a while, he'd walk in the weight room. Didn't have a lot on. Had some shoes on. Do a few extra things in the weight room, and that was it.
Wait, he would go in naked and lift weights?
Not totally, but enough to where you just, the strength coach didn't want to see him very long.
Like a jockstrap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Maddox one of the top 5 worst bodies in the Hall of Fame?
I could probably go there with you. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Yeah.
What if Schilling gets in?
There's been some progression up and down it would be he'd be close, but I'm on that. I'm on a new mission myself before I get to July 26th. Just check it out when you see July 26th and what I've lost.
Are you jacked?
I'm not jacked, but I'm on a weight loss program right now. I'm on a strict. I'm starting to work out again.
Did you add more hair?
That I couldn't do. I wish I would have. That would have been the ultimate gamut, the ultimate ability to stand up there on that podium, to see Maddox look at me, and to see him fall out of a chair with this incredible.
If you took your hat off and you had like Bieber hair, it would be awesome, John. Your hair flowing in the breeze there in Cooperstown. You're running your fingers through it, and you're looking back at Maddox and say, "Hey, I'm a Hall of Famer, punk."
I'm telling you right now, I'm a man of my word. If I didn't have to be on TV and all I had to do was do sports on radio, you can book that would happen. I'd pay that money.
Great to talk to you again, Johnny, and good luck with your Spartans.
Thanks a lot.
All right, John Smoltz, Major League Baseball Network analyst.